from the festival, the 27th of Feb through to the 2nd of March. 160 odd movies, shorts, features, indie, and some classics shown across 8 different screens over 4 days. We have got a ton of content for you to consume, but tonight on this episode, I have an interview with director Stephen Roach and writer Rob Howgate of the feature film Crucifix, Blood of the Exorcist, which is playing on Thursday, the 27th of February, screen 4 at 7 p.m. First of all, how are you guys tonight? How are you?
Very well, thank you. Really well. Thanks for having us on.
Fantastic.
This is awesome. This is great. Like, we've got some really, really strong features at the fest this year, and I can't wait for everyone to see your feature because it starts as one thing, it becomes another thing, and ends as something completely different. So I think our audiences are going to absolutely vibe on Crucifix. First of all, I like to start with a nice simple question because this might be somebody's first time seeing you guys. This might be somebody's first time hearing about this project. So I like to act like it always is somebody's first time and just ask a question about who you guys are, how you guys got into the industry, and why on earth you'd put yourself through that.
After you, Rob.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So yeah, I've been in the industry really for the last 5 or 6 years. I've been making films for 20 years, be they shorts or super low budget features. But yeah, just about 5 years ago, I met Lawrence Fowler, who's been doing some great work on the Jack in the Box trilogy. And worked with him as a PM and AD. And on the back of that, saw how something which is extremely low budget can achieve outstanding results really across theatrical release. So on the back of that, I started putting myself about a little bit more. I worked with a friend of the festival, Stephen M. Smith. I've co-produced with Louisa Warren as well, who's brilliant. And then, the marriage made in heaven with Stephen came for the Crucifix. But first, I suppose when I was growing up, I wanted to be a writer. And since I started to wear a number of hats, as you do in indie filmmaking, but particularly over the last few years in horror.
And Rob, Stephen will get on to you in a second, but you also are showing Pigman with us this year as well, which is a Louisa film.
Yeah, that's been shown on Sunday, something we shot a couple of years ago now. So yeah, I'm excited. I've got a couple of films at the festival. Alongside obviously working with Stephen, Louisa did a great job. So yeah, hopefully you'll get to interview Louisa and find out a bit more there. But yeah, I'm excited. It's my first time as a shower at the Romford Film Festival. I'm really looking forward to it.
I love that, a shower and a grower. Stephen, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been in the media industry for about over 24 years. Originally started out as an editor and in the corporate world, and then moved into camera work, which then led on to cinematography. Which sort of, then led on to my real passion, which is directing, while also doing the cinematography because I really love using the camera. So over the, I think my first short film was in 2011 with just editing, and then doing a bit of cinematography for other directors, and then got the chance to direct my first feature film, which was Cooks to the Darkest Days, which will be released in March, I think it is, and then which then led on to the Crucifix. And our makeup artist from Cookster was working with Rob and knows Rob, and recommended me as director and as a possible director and cinematographer. And as Rob said, it was a match made in heaven.
She actually said she'd never seen anyone as happy on set every day of a 20-day shoot or whatever it was. Yeah, she's never seen someone come down and be as happy and energetic. And but as we know at this level, that's what you need. You need happy, smiley faces as you go to war in the indie, in the indie film world. So and it's maintained that, even though we have over the course we've known each other for 12 months now and worked hard on pre and post on the Crucifix. we're good mates. We work really well together. We're pretty much aligned. So it's been cool.
And what is it? I mean, obviously, like you're looking for a guy who's always going to be happy on set for the full time, the full duration, and right through post and everything like that. But what is it, do you think, specifically about the two of you that just works?
I think from my point of view, we get each other. There was an example yesterday. We got another project we're working on, and Stephen sent me over a note saying, when you write the script, can you ensure this is in there and this is in there? And I wrote back saying, yeah, I wrote that yesterday. So it's kind of that alignment, which is kind of weird. We get on as mates, we have a laugh, but he's very, very good at what he does. He's super talented. I think it's unusual to have a director who DOPs. So not only as a producer am I saving a little bit of budget, but I'm getting the best of both worlds, and he's brilliant at both. First and foremost, we've got a friendship, and he's brilliant at what he does. I think that's key.
And that's the thing. It's one of the best things about working with Rob as well. On the Crucifix it's pure collaboration. That's the thing. It's pure teamwork, and in terms of a film set, the atmosphere has to be set at the top. So essentially, Rob as the producer and writer, and me as the director, we need to set the atmosphere at the top. And then that trickles down to everybody else. It trickles down to the actors. It trickles down to the crew. I mean, my gaffer Stan and my first AC Jake, they both said to me, they said on another film set, they would never suggest anything because they would just be battered down. But working with Rob and I, they loved it because they could see the passion, and they could, and they can give ideas. They can say, oh, why don't we try, have a look at this, Stephen, why don't we try this? And if it works, yeah, let's do it. Even the actors as well, so Hannah, came up with an idea, and she said, oh, Stephen, can I try this? I said, what is it? She showed me what it is, and I went, perfect, let's do it. And it worked out brilliantly, so pure collaboration, which is sort of, which is set by Rob and I, and then it trickles down to everybody else on set.
I would add, actually, pure collaboration and at pace. And Stephen was quickly. I mean, we shot the Crucifix in 12 days, which is not unusual.
No, it's mental.
Yeah.
for the quality, though, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's quality. It's mental.
That's what I mean.
You need to be a certain human being to be able to drive through that. So it's been able to maintain. And I know it's maybe a bit flippant, but maintain that humor, maintain that good attitude, and maintain your skill level, really. Because a lot of time you're going to drop off. But we involve the team to ensure that they're not putting their hands up with ideas. But if they've got an idea, they'll chat to Stephen, and obviously Stephen will listen. And a couple of great lighting moments have come from those collaboration pieces. And the actors all the time, Stephen will have conversations and see what they think and how they should play after the blocking and stuff. But 12 days. 12 days of fun.
So talking about 12 days of fun, we haven't really talked about the movie yet. Let's jump on to Crucifix, the last Blood of the Exorcist. Sorry. Let's talk a little bit about where this movie came from, what the thought process was behind it, and just where it originated.
Well, it's based on a true story, isn't it, Rob? No?
He was an old ancestor of mine. No, so look, I suppose in indie film, it's particularly horror now. I mean, the great thing about horror, there's a lot of horror out there. Some great films out there. There's a lot of stories being made. It's a fantastic kind of cottage industry, if you like, right now, particularly with British horror. The disadvantage of that is there's a lot of stories coming out. So you got to find something which is unique, innovative, will get the audience in, as well as, where possible, and as you may have mentioned, Kevin, sticking to the genre where possible, because the audience has a certain expectation. And we were a bit cheeky with the genre, but essentially, there's a lot of stuff out there, so we had to come up with something a bit different. And I worked with my co-producer David Marsh, who's also the sales agent, and put the initial story outline together. And we were back and forth in so many different ideas. We're trying to jump on the Pooniverse, and looking at tried a Snow White idea. We looked at maybe a Peeping Tom kind of reset or remake. We looked at all sorts of the zombie World War I horror, and And then we kind of, and I mentioned it in our prep, we try to reverse engineer success, and you can have a look at whether we're successful or not, maybe in a few months. But we went to a distributor in LATAM in South America and said, "What would you buy if you're buying it now?" And he said, "Clowns and exorcisms." So if anyone's out there, make yourself a clown exorcism film, I think, and go to Roberto. But I worked Jack in the Box. I wasn't going to take a clown movie from Fowler Media. So we said, okay, exorcism. Now, again, there's so many exorcism films out there, some good, bad, and otherwise. So how are we going to make it different? And that's where, after a couple of glasses of wine and some back and forth, we said, well, Vikings. And,
I just love a couple of glasses of wine got you there. I love that.
Yeah, we got to Vikings, and that was where it's born from. Really, it was born from really a motivation to do something different, because there's a hell of a lot of horror out there, and a motivation to really try and reverse engineer some sort of distribution success, because the amount of people we speak to, whether in casting or crew, who, when they've been hired, never have the conversations about where the film's going. I think there's a huge amount of passion about, let's make a film. What then? So we wanted to kind of start at the end and then work our way backwards to story. But yeah, Viking exorcism. I'm not sure it's been done before, and maybe it won't be done again. But
I don't think I've seen anything like including Viking exorcism, because honestly, and this was one of my things as well. One of the questions I have for you is that Vikings over the last few years, with the TV show Vikings and The Last Kingdom, both on Netflix, like, they've become quite big. And I myself was never massively into Vikings as a kid or anything like that, but now watching those shows, I'm like, I'm all about it. Like, I want to be one. And then, like, you bring out this horror movie that's got Vikings in it, and I'm all of a sudden thinking to myself, oh, the diehards are not going to like this. So how did you go about towing that line? Like, how much research needed to go into that part of the story to make sure that you didn't really agitate people?
I think from both sides of the audience, actually, the Vikings community and also the horror community, they're probably both angry with us, but there we go. But yeah,
they won't be angry. Once they see it, they will not be angry.
Yeah, no, good stuff. But from your perspective, I mean, I wasn't massively into Vikings, so that was something I had to do a lot of research myself. I binge watched Vikings, the first 3 series, and just really got into it and done a huge amount of Googling and reading and stuff, just so I understood it and had the. I don't need to know the A to Z of it, but I needed to know enough to be credible, and because it was unique, Viking exorcism. Just make sure what I was writing at least was baked in some form of Viking pagan reality, as opposed to me just having another couple of glasses of wine and just kind of making it up. So yeah, it was. It took a bit of time, actually, just to get to understand them.
And Stephen, how was that for you, coming in? Like, you're gonna have to shoot this, you're gonna have to direct this. Were you like, oh man, you've given me something super easy here, thank you very much? Or were you just all about it, and how did you approach that?
Oh, well, I mean, I loved it from day one, and that was the thing. I love a challenge, because I'd never filmed a Viking battle before, so that was something which which we had to kind of discuss and plan out. But it's that's the thing. I love filmmaking and every aspect of it. So when that was our story, that's what Rob had written. And essentially it was my job to put it on screen, and so I just loved it, and I approached it in a way that the same way I approach everything else, which is just head on and let's do it. Because that's the thing. It's even if I suppose in some respects yes, when you've got a small budget, it does hinder you a little bit, but it doesn't. You shouldn't be shackled, so it's ways. It's like, okay, we can only have a certain amount of people. What do we do? Let's get a few people to change costume. Let's get let's be selective of our locations. What have we got? We've got a big hall. We've got this. We've got which all enables us to add a lot more scale to you know, to our scenes, essentially, to our, you know, particularly in the Viking scenes.
It's like when you're a kid and you're watching
Yeah.
these movies, you want to go into the playground and you
Yeah.
want to reenact those things. Yeah, you are
Yeah.
putting them up on the screen.
It's a lot
So
of
how much fun was that?
a lot of fun. It was hugely enjoyable, and that's the thing as well. You know, particularly when I'm filming, I like to get right in there with the camera, so they're swinging the swords and with, you know, getting in there, and it's just so much fun. It's so much fun, and then what's, you know, when you know, when you see, you know, when the actors have a quick look at it and they see, you know, the quality of it, they then, you know, you see the enjoyment on their face, and you know, they're just completely gobsmacked.
And a little bit on that, because you're making a horror movie here, but you're also making quite a grounded horror movie, at least until the wheels start coming off. So your casting is absolutely crucial, and I want to talk a little bit about Hannah Bang Benz, because she's an actress I'm familiar with. I've seen her in other films and other like horror genre films, but this was very different for her, I thought, especially in the opening half of the movie. Very different movie from anything we've seen her play before.
Sure.
How did you know she was the actress to play this role? How did you get her on board, and how did you work with her on this?
I suppose I found Hannah. So yeah, another film festival, Pigman was in actually last year, Horror and Film, Horror and Sea, sorry, in Southend, which is where I'm from. And I was just looking through the trailers, and I Am Rage was on, and I saw Hannah within that trailer. I thought, wow, okay. And it was actually with another film in mind, because I needed someone with more combat skills and someone who could kick a bit of ass, really. And then so I got in touch with her via socials to discuss that project, and during that conversation, this felt she was going to be right for the role. I think, as we said, we talked about not only her from an acting perspective, but from a person perspective. Again, shooting in small time, you're gonna need some guts to be able to do that. You're gonna need some resilience, and she's got both of those. So and she can act, and she's done a really good job. She's got that subtlety, and then she can go crazy. So it was that balance. But yeah, it was from just seeing the trailer for I Am Rage, and then coincidentally enough, Bella, who put me and Stephen together, had also worked with her. It's a small industry, and yeah, pretty incestuous, and said, yeah, she's great. And that's key. I mean, it's, you want people who are talented, but you're also at this level and shooting this speed. You need people you're going to be able to get on with for 14 hours, 13 hours a day. So yeah, no, we found it that way.
Yeah, and the effort she put in on set is just amazing. I mean, you can see the contrast as well. So in the scenes where she has to be upset and contemplative, and then in the next scene she can be rabid and jumping and trying to bite people, and she's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely, and the effort that she put in was just absolutely amazing, and I think it really shows and really helps lift the film as well. Absolutely amazing.
There's one part actually where I'd written it as a folk dance, and it was slightly more gentle. If you remember, Kev, when she comes outside the house and starts, she's almost at war, but she's dancing as if when she's possessed by the warrior, and that was something she had put together. She was listening to some heavy Norse music as well throughout the shoot, so she went method on us, which was fantastic to really get hold of the character and really understand being possessed by a 1,000-year-old Viking, which is your everyday occurrence. So yeah, she was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
I mean, that's a Saturday night in Berwick where I live, so
you're coming up.
And then, of course, Alex Walton as well, because if you're going to have someone like Hannah, who is, as you say, bringing the noise and bringing that energy, you need someone who's going to, try and level out a little bit, successfully or unsuccessfully. It depends on how you watch the film, but you need somebody like that to really kind of bring that in. So how did Alex come to the project, and what was his take on this?
So it was actually Bella, our makeup artist, again, who recommended Alex to us and stuff. And I had actually worked with Alex. I was cinematographer on a film before my directorial debut, and yeah, that. So I already knew him, and she knew him, and yeah, it's such a small world, and he was just fantastic, fantastic.
Well, on that, we've mentioned Bella, your makeup artist, a couple of
Yeah.
times, and absolutely, I want to throw out some flowers in this lady's direction, because the special effects and the makeup, when things, I don't want to give spoilers or anything, but when things really start going to shit, the makeup effects for again, a movie at this level, the budget you guys have, the
Yeah.
time you guys have, Hannah looks phenomenal when she really starts going down that road. But so how's that process, and how do you capture that kind of just messed upness? How do you really get there when you're working at this level?
Well, that's the thing. It's a sort of, you know, it's all about pushing, and it's all about, okay, let's not be hindered by our by our small budget, and let's try and do, you know, the best possible. And as well, it's, you know, it's especially with, you know, when you see the makeup, it's, you know, the makeup and the scars, it just looks stunning with the, you know, the blood on the teeth and you know, the eyes, it just looks stunning. And then when you combine that as well, you know, with the lighting that, you know, my gaffer Stan had done with the cyan light, it just amplifies everything, and it just looks absolutely stunning.
I think also it's a lot of it's in prep. So Bella's great in prep, and we all got together, and we, you know, we diligently put together what happens when, as she goes through that change. You know, what's her face going to look like then, and then, you know, in the next scene we see her, how's she evolving. So we did talk about it in prep, but yeah, and you have to again, you know, we're not pleading poverty, but yeah, you know, it's low budget. You have to do a lot of your work in prep just to ensure that on set it's all going to come together. But yeah, Bella, I mean, she's had a lot of mentions actually. We should have brought her on, but I met her on the Jack in the Box set. So she was responsible for the if you know that trilogy, Kev. She was responsible for the mask of Jack. So yeah, she's very, very talented, and again, a really nice person, which is just as key.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely brought the A game on this in terms of your makeup and effects. Just absolutely phenomenal. So I'm glad you've mentioned. I am glad you've mentioned a couple of times there, because that's one thing that when people watch this and see this up on the big screen, they're going to be quite pleasantly surprised by what they see. Also, probably feel a little bit ill, but that's the desired effect. And when you are kind of playing around, and you've mentioned before about Hannah bringing certain different things to the table, was there anything that maybe you hadn't quite scripted, or hadn't scripted in a certain way, that came to the forefront and basically made the movie just that little bit better, or somebody came up with an idea, or something happened on the day, like spontaneously, that just made the film better, and it's like, that's staying?
Well, I think the Viking sequences, initially the idea, and the film is set in a southern part of Scotland called Wales, which is, but the actual story is based in Scotland, but Wales is obviously closer and cheaper. So we to
Plus,
get.
You don't want to come to Scotland either. So just
I want to come to Berwick. It sounds like a good night out, but so yeah, the Vikings was initially going to be shot where we shot the majority of the film, but when we went on the recce, we decided it wasn't going to be quite right. So the Viking sequence, there's a beginning battle and an end battle without any spoilers, but it was shot a month or so after, and we scripted it a month or so after, because it wasn't going to work out, and we just got that feeling, Stephen, didn't we, when we were on set, and when we were at the location. So we had to make kind of a quick decision that it wasn't going to happen where we thought it was going to happen at the time it was going to happen. So yeah, that was something, and the location we found near Sandwich in Kent was phenomenal. We got the reenactors on board from that location as well, just to help provide the fighters and stuff. But yeah, for me that was the main thing. You know, went to location. Nah, it's not going to give us what we need. We need a bit more scale. And we kind of twisted and turned then for the Vikings bit.
Spot on, mate. Spot on. 100%. I agree.
Thank you. Yeah. It works. It just worked well, didn't it?
Yeah.
And a little bit, I would get probably chastised if I didn't mention two other people that we have on your cast, and one of them you already know. I'm quite friendly with. I've known him for a good long while. He's been a stunt coordinator for a while, stunty, and now he's in front of the camera for you guys. We've got Darren Lefebvre kicking around in this movie, and of course, anybody who's seen any British independent movie ever in the last 10 years knows Dean Kilby's face. How did these two guys come to be part of this project, and how much? I mean, it's always fun, I imagine, working with Dean. So, what was it like having these guys on board?
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. In terms of Darren, we were looking for our Viking, and we were looking to bring Darren on as our fight choreographer. And I saw his profile picture on WhatsApp, and immediately I sent it to Rob and went, "That's our Viking. look, it's literally him with two axes like that."
Yes.
And it was like, that Rob, he's a Viking. He's and he can act. He can fight. He can do it all. And so yeah, sort of put Darren in contact with Rob, and yeah, it was just fantastic. It just worked, and it was really beneficial for us having an actor who could also be in charge of his own fight choreography as well. So he could also rehearse the other actors. He could rehearse with Alex, he could rehearse with the other actors who were playing the other Vikings and the Klansmen. So for us, it was fantastic.
He was so committed as well. He made a lot of his own weapons. Coincidentally, he's another. I'm based in Essex, so yeah, to big up the Romford Essex scene. Yeah, Darren coincidentally just lives around the corner from me. How did I miss that 7 foot sort of legend just strolling around? I mean, but he lives around the corner. But yeah, no, we met. He was so passionate, so committed. I think partly because he wants to do more stuff in front of the character, but partly because he's just a good guy. So he turned up at my house for just a chat and a talk, and he brought these weapons he'd made, which was absolutely phenomenal. So a lot of time for Darren, very talented, and threw himself at this role in a big way. And Dean, I was at the bar at the HORRHIFFIC Film Festival, and Dean had a film there, Pigman was showing there, and he accosted me at the bar. Actually, I was speaking to another actor, and I think he overheard I was a producer, and we started talking. But again, great to have him on set. I mean, he's funny. He's a strong actor. I think
he picks up gravitas as well, doesn't he, to his role?
He does. Well. I mean, when we were going through the editing process, we felt, he does. I think it made it feel safe because he came on and he brought that gravitas with his acting and stuff. His character Mongo. So they're both top people, and again that's pretty vital. But yeah, both really good at what they do.
And Dean's got a new catchphrase now: "Acto dias non quam mortalian fallen father." that can be his new catchphrase now.
Yeah, that on a t-shirt.
Everybody will have to watch the film to understand what I'm on about.
and you're absolutely right about the sort of like the gravitas, the grandness, and the epicness that he brings to that role. Again, I'm not going to dive too far into that section of the movie, but when he does start doing that, I have to say, like, I've seen Dean Kilby in everything. Like, he's everywhere right now, and it's great to see him work, and I'm always happy to see him popping up in BBC dramas and all this kind of thing.
Boiling point, yeah, absolutely.
But honestly, like, those scenes towards the tail end of your whole movie, I don't think I've seen Dean quite do that yet. What would you say is one particular effect? It could be a scare, it could be part of your battle sequences, it can be anything within the movie. What would you say is one particular effect that you're particularly proud of?
For me, I'm very proud of. We did a shot called the over the skull shot. And this is something that Rob and I discussed during the pre-production stages, and yeah, it just worked out brilliantly. You know, using the diopter to bring the skull into the foreground and Fergus in the background, and then the reverse shot of, you know, the back of the skull in the foreground with Hannah, you know, in the in the background, and it just, you know, basically turning a simple scene into something really artistic and really beautiful, where you know, normally you could just do, let's just do a wide shot and 2 close-ups, you know, and that's it, you know. But we, you know, Rob and I, we wanted to do something different and creative, and sort of, you know, in a way, just sort of, if someone walks past, you know, and they see that image, they'll take a step back and go, "Oh, that looks interesting. That looks really, you know, I've never seen that type of shot before," you know.
Yeah, it's true, and I think that's another thing to nod towards, Steve, is innovation. I've never seen a director and DOP in more nooks and crannies across the set. I mean, I found him in a cupboard, just with his camera, and it was like, "What are you doing in there, Steve?" But, you know, some beautiful stuff. Always looking. Look, we had a shot list, but always looking on set how it's blocked out, working with the location, and just seeing what we can do different. Yeah, from a standard OTS to the over the skull shot was brilliant and looked really good. From my perspective, I think, look, ultimately it's an exorcism film. And the first film I ever saw, shows how old I am, was Superman at the cinema, actually. And the reason why I wanted to get into film was, well, if a man can fly, I want a piece of that. If you can make a man fly on screen, then I'm buying into that. So that was, you know, I was a little lad and was like, whoa. So obviously an exorcism, to make someone levitate at this level of budget and to pull it off so professionally and look so good, considering we knew where it came from with regards to our prep. We probably won't go into that to spoil the romance of it, but it was phenomenal just to see someone levitating like that. It was great, and props to Phil, our VFX guy, who did an absolutely phenomenal job there. So yeah, for me, that's you know, that's the main thing that stands out.
And one other thing that we haven't really talked about so far is your score. We've talked a little bit about sound effects and whatnot, but something that is so tricky, I always think, in movies, is to strike the right balance, creating fear, creating suspense, and I think score does a lot of heavy lifting there. How did you guys approach your score for this movie? Who was involved, and how long did it take to get that right balance for you?
Yeah, I mean, so what Rob and I ended up doing was approaching composers. We had listened to various bits of music from various composers, and we picked the right one. So we got in contact with them. So we had some really good composers, Daniel Garavini, Eric, Michael, and Loic, I think, was another one, Rob, wasn't it? Which was the one that you found. And just sort of, because that's the thing, Rob and I had to wear many hats in this post-production stage. So we realized that it wouldn't be fair to force the composing onto our sound designer, because there was a lot of aspects, a lot of things that needed doing. So Rob and I took it on ourselves to basically go out and find and pick the correct bits of music. And once we found one, you know, we then approached, you know, I mean, a few people never replied back. A few people said no, but the majority of the people went, absolutely, here we go. You know, there you go. And that's how we basically ended up. So a lot of effort for Rob and I, and that's how we kind of ended up with the amazing kind of various scores that we've got in the film. You know,
I think as well, Steve. You can get one composer, obviously, to do the full score throughout the movie, which is, I suppose, the standard process. And we kind of went after people's kind of what piece of music is going to fit this part. So as we rightly said, it's Viking Exorcism, which is two very different areas. So we needed to find and a composer, you know, obviously can do that. That's what they do is work. But for us, again, looking at maybe speed in post-production, we wanted someone who had produced that previously. So yeah, Steve, we went on a search across the internet, and it's there's some really special pieces of music in there actually, and some kind of moving moments, and otherwise with the Viking scenes.
So a question that I normally like to ask is that any creative, any actor, any director, anyone like that can tell me everything that's wrong with their movie when they see it up on the big screen. They see the little bits and pieces that not everybody's going to see, but you know it's there because, you know, you edited this thing and it niggled you for months. But what I like to do is I normally like to ask a question about what actually up there when you see it on the screen are you most proud of? But we've already kind of like dealt with that. So I want to retcon the question a little bit and basically ask what kind of reactions have you been having when you see this up on the big screen, and what kind of reactions have audiences been having that make you think, yeah, we nailed that?
Well, so so at the moment, it's been released in Latin America, and in terms of critical reviews, we've had some really good critical reviews from critics, and which was just really nice, because it just really kind of you know, just it just gives us a nice feeling knowing that people who understand film and watch film, and that essentially that's their job, is to critique film, really appreciate what we've done, and especially when they get it as well, when they go, oh, we get why, you know, there's this melancholy scene, you know, we get why, you know, she's pulling the toys out, she, you know, out of the box and contemplating, we understand that. And so having that from the critics is just really good. And in terms of audience reviews, we can only sort of look at Latin America, and I think it's been mixed, basically. It's been mixed.
I think just pick up on that. So we've again for a film at this level, it's been a miracle really that we've had such wide theatrical distribution in Latin America. In our opening weekend, we were number 5 in Peru, number 9 in Argentina. I got a text from Steve.
Unbelievable, by the way. Unbelievable. Congratulations.
Yeah, I got a text from Steve. Thank you, from Steve this morning, saying we're number 8 in Colombia.
Opening weekend, number 8 in Colombia.
So we're alongside, I've done the math, we're alongside Nosferatu, we've got 0.01% of their budget. We're alongside Interstellar, and you could make 4,000 Crucifix films for the budget of Interstellar. So I think, look, from an audience point of view, it's always going to be mixed because there's expectations going in. And to be fair to us, we kind of made a conscious decision to go after an A24 meeting in a way, if they're watching. And we want it's a slow burn. So if you're out on a Saturday night, you're 16, you're taking your girlfriend, your boyfriend out, then we might not quite be for you, because we're a slow burn about a grieving couple who find a 1,000-year-old skull. So from an audience point of view, there's been some great comments. The cinematography, even for people who don't really appreciate the concept or the story, they've come out and said, one audience member said, you know, it's the best thing they've seen since The Witch and Midsummer, which is obviously very nice. I mean, location plays a big part. Stephen's skill plays a big part. But we took a slight risk. It is a slow burner, Kev. I don't know if you felt that. It takes a little while to get going. So if you're in your Odeon or your Cineplex in Buenos Aires in Argentina on a Saturday night, you may want something a little bit quicker. But ultimately, as Steve said, you know, the people, and this is not to patronize just the audience members, but the people who understand film and love film have seen the value in it, and the critics' reviews have been stunning. Actually,
really good.
I'm pretty humbling, but we've got used to the good and the bad. I think that's a part of resilience, part of being resilient.
And what would each of you say during the making of this movie that is probably the biggest thing you've maybe learned about filmmaking that you hadn't quite honed in on, but more importantly, something you've maybe learned about yourself that you didn't really know?
From the film industry, I think it is always to respect the audience. As I say, in some ways, you have to make what they're going to watch and what's going to be distributed. You know, there's You can't just make something you want to watch. And I think, as we mentioned, a lot of films, just good films and otherwise, you know, just don't see the light of day. So my continue with my producers out. I mean, I'm constantly battling. Writer wants to do everything. My producer wants to do everything at budget. So it's a kind of constant battle. But ultimately, my end game as a producer and working with my co-producers and distributors has to be that it's going to be successful and get them the money back, but more importantly, make some money. So constantly learning that, you know, you got to have an audience for what you're doing. From a personal perspective, I love post, and I wrote the script and I produced, but sitting there in post was, you know, I think I've learned that I'm developing a reasonably good eye and a reason for the edit and a reasonably good ear for sound, which and neither of those were there 3, 4, 5 years ago. So post, I love it. I think, you know, sitting down and after all the hard work's been done, I know you got a mountain of hard work to do in post, but, you know, to be able to appreciate what we've got and how we can make it even better using, you know, our sound designer, shout out to Mark and Phil, we mentioned in VFX, is pretty special. And that's what I've learned.
I think for me it's roughly the same, and it's the sound design process. You know, a lot of effort got put in the sound design process, and it took a lot of Mark's time, a lot of Rob's time, a lot of my time, and I've learned a lot from that, and learned a lot. Okay, you know, certainly for the next film, I would approach things slightly differently, you know, and sort of go, okay, how can I make you know, our sound designer Mark's life easy? How can I make Rob's life easy? How can I make my life easy? You know, because Rob and I, one of the many hats was sound supervising on the film as well. And so for the next film, Rob and I are already discussing, okay, how can we make Mark's life easy, our life easy? You know, and so that's what I've learned from that.
And as you said as well, Kevin, I mean, there is a hell of a lot of heavy lifting done by both the sound design and also the score. So yeah, it took a long time in post. So yeah, we can certainly make that process efficient. But it was a lot of fun as well.
It was.
Yeah, just putting it all together was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
I definitely have a lot of respect and a lot of admiration for sound design as well. Like, it's something that I'm not overly like attuned to or anything like that, but there are times when I'll be putting something out, like a bit of content out or something like that, and I need that song that's really going to zip it, or a short, will I say, that's really going to zip it. And I spend about 3 days trying to find one 30-second clip. So I've got a lot of love and admiration for people that do that job, because I just can't settle on anything. So yeah, like, hats off on that one. If you guys could show Crucifix to any director that inspires you or that you admire, who would you show it to for a little bit of feedback, and why?
Great question.
Interesting question. I'd probably say Kubrick. Yeah, I'd probably say Stanley Kubrick. I reckon he would probably appreciate what we've done and how we've done it, and it would be interesting to hear his take on it, because with his films, you know, when you watch his films, let's say if you get 10 people in a room, they're all going to have a different take on it, you know. Be it Eyes Wide Shut, be it, you know, 2001, you know, be it you know, The Shining, they're all going to have was he a ghost, was he always in the picture, who, you know. So yes, it'll be interesting. It would be very interesting, I think, to hear Stanley Kubrick's opinion of the Crucifix.
Let's dig him up.
Let's do it. We'll get Dean. We'll get Dean and Julie. We'll do a seance. You know?
I was going to say there's your sequel right there.
That's brilliant. I think from my perspective, it's got to be, because for the Crucifix in particular, I mean, Robert Eggers was a big influence, not least for the Witch and cinematography, which mentioned before, but also obviously the Northman. And that type. So I've studied that a lot as well, and I like the fact he goes deep. I mean, he probably goes maybe 2D. I mean, there's so much detail there. And it's one thing that we talked about the Viking stuff and the pagan stuff before. It's one thing, not to that level, obviously, but I had to do. So I just say, Robert, look, is this okay?
Is this okay?
Yeah, what do you think? I'm trying to live up to my namesake in some respects there. But yeah, he's doing some awesome stuff. So yeah, it'd be Robert Eggers for me, absolutely.
No, both solid as hell. So we're going to start wrapping up in a quick second, but another one that we've talked about, filmmakers you'd love to show your movie to, see what they thought of it. But if you had the chance to remake any one classic, and I would normally leave this as like a horror question, but you guys are mixing genres here as well, so let's mix up the genres. You can make any classic film. You got to remake it, reboot it, a sequel to it, a spiritual sister, brother to it. What would you love to have a crack at?
Oh, that's another good question. I'll go then, but I'm going to keep it horror, but horror comedy. So yeah, given my mature age, the 80s were phenomenal for me. I loved horror from the 80s. Freddy Krueger is wasn't such a bad guy, be an icon for me. But Nightmare on Elm Street, absolutely brilliant, and really defined kind of cinema for me as well, and horror. But it's got to be the Lost Boys. If I was gonna remake.
No, don't say Lost Boys. Come on.
I want to reset it, Kev. I want to bring it up to date. Disenfranchised youth. We'd set it in Southend on Sea. We don't need to go to the US. It's a great coastline here.
Itself.
So yeah, the Lost Boys for me, I think.
That is a great show. I do joke at that is a great show, but if anybody ever did that, I'd cry.
Yeah. Are you a big fan?
Huge Lost Boys fan. Who isn't? Yeah. But no, I would actually, of all the movies that I've always said, like, don't ever do a remake of that. Over the last 3, 4, 5 years, I have been kind of like, maybe it is time. Maybe it is time to have a look at that one again.
Yeah,
it's be interesting now, especially we've generationally we changed, haven't we? Yeah, just bring them back, and horror comedy as well. I mean, it's so difficult to do. It's so difficult to mix those two, and they did it beautifully. So So what's his space? I'm lined up with Kiefer tomorrow. Let's see.
Dean Kilby as Kiefer.
Yeah.
It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? It'd be better than Kiefer himself as Kiefer.
And Stephen, what would you take a crack at?
So a remake or a sequel?
It can be a remake, a sequel. It can be spiritual. It can be anything really. Just what you would have a go at.
I tell you what, I would love to make a proper sequel to John Carpenter's The Thing. A proper no CGI, proper practical effects, and make a proper sequel to The Thing. I think chuck all the CGI out the window. Let's get Rob Bott in, and let's just create the practical effects and create a sequel to The Thing set in the modern day, actually, as well. Yeah. So yeah. I think it could be really, especially you could use the aspects of today, such as global warming. So if the ship will probably be, you'll be able to see the whole ship now, the alien ship. But yeah, I'd love to do a proper sequel to that, because I the prequel was okay, but sort of lacked the tension, and it lacked especially because they did it all with CG. A lot of it was CGI, and it for me it just didn't work. And I think if you're going to do something for that type of film, you have to take a step back and go, okay, what made it so special? Back in, what was it, 82 when it came out? The acting was superb, the directing was brilliant, the script was brilliant, but it was also those practical effects, which still stands the test of time.
Something we're definitely lacking nowadays, but I do feel like it's making a little bit of a comeback, practical.
Yeah.
But for a long time, the CGI and everything like that has just been killing practical. It's just like we want to be able to feel it, and like taste it if we have to. But
Yeah.
so we need to bring that back in a big bad way. So I'm with you on that one, definitely.
Great stuff.
So, guys, we are going to be showing Crucifix, Blood of the Exorcist on Thursday, the 27th of February, screen 4 at 7 p.m. Please do come down to the Romford Horror Festival. I want everybody to come and watch this one because I genuinely think you're going to have a good time with this film. And yes, you're right. It is a little bit of a slow burn in the earlier phase of the movie, but it never once feels like a slow burn. It just moves along at a nice pace. We're getting everything we need to know about these characters before, what was it? Ridley Scott said about Alien. It's like a 10 miles of bad road before you get to that point.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's what you're doing here, and I'm all for that. So I think people are going to really, really vibe on this movie.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
What I want to ask before we wrap out is each of you get 3 random words. They can be completely unconnected to sell people on this movie. What 3 random words would you throw out there to get people to watch this film?
Oh, okay. Visual, deep, intense.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, again, Berwick on a Saturday night.
Yeah. We'll definitely come out there. Yeah. 3 for me.
Yeah, go for it.
I suppose I hit the poster. I mean, Vikings, Exorcism, and Kilby, I think is the.
I mean, every movie that's got Kilby in it, that's one of the 3 words. So,
no, Viking Exorcism, come and see it. It's a bit different. Yeah, we appreciate as many people as we can and feedback on it. It'd be great.
And beyond that, beyond the festival run, I know we've got distribution in Latin America and things like that, but where will people be able to check this out afterwards? What do we hope happens with the movie? Where do we hope this goes?
We've been lucky as we've been men with a plan or team with a plan. So we've been acquired by Vertical in the US, so they'll handle the US and UK distribution. So I'm not sure. UK is probably going to be kind of summertime. We've got a limited theatrical release in the US in 4 or 5 major cities. May 25th.
Yeah, May
25th, and we're interested to see how this is going to play in the Middle East. So that's going to be released there in the next couple of months as well. So yeah, we've done okay with territories kind of picking us up. So yeah, looking forward to it. But yeah, what's its space on the UK really? Streaming channels in the UK as opposed to theatrical, I imagine.
Well, guys, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for joining me. Most of all, thank you for sending us the movie, submitting it to the festival, and letting us put it up on one of our screens. I truly believe that people are going to vibe on this film. They're really going to rock it. So, guys, thank you for joining me tonight and doing this. I can't wait for everyone to see the film.
Thank you, Kev. It's been a pleasure.
Loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.